The winds went wild in mid-2024, tearing through Sanderson with 2 brutal tornadoes. But this wasn't the first time nature tried to erase this town off the map. Years ago, a massive flood swept through, destroying homes and lives. And yet, here we are, in a nation of superpower status, glowing skylines, and cutting-edge tech. There's still a place in America with no doctor, no supermarket, and almost no hope. This is Sanderson, a town still breathing, though slowly. Some stayed even when everyone else left. But why? Stick around, because Sanderson's story might just be the mirror we all need. A dark reflection of who truly gets protected by progress. Let's look at a side of America they never show you in the movies. Once known as a railroad town, Sanderson was founded in 1882 and thrived thanks to the Southern Pacific Railroad, which stretched from east to west, bringing hope and life to the Texas desert. As the county seat of Terrell County, Sanderson became a hub for sheep and goat ranching. In the 1930s, it was famous for producing high-quality mohair and wool. Later, oil and gas brought a brief economic boom, but geography was never on Sanderson's side. Located in one of the most remote and hottest regions in the entire United States, the town depended heavily on industries that couldn't last forever. When the railroad faded and the ranching economy declined, Sanderson's isolation grew more severe. Then came Interstate 10. Built about an hour north, this highway gave drivers a way to bypass Sanderson completely. And just like that, people stopped coming, and many locals stopped staying. The population, once around 3,000 in the 1950s, has now shrunk to just about 600. Those who remain live among relics of the past. Old brick buildings, rusted train tracks, and empty roads that rarely see a car. But even here, the town holds onto its roots. Amtrak still makes a stop in Sanderson on its route from San Antonio to El Paso, though it's one of the quietest stations in the entire system. In 2021, the station received a $3 million renovation. New features were added: an open-air shelter, a concrete platform, ADA-compliant walkways, and parking space. A fresh coat of hope for a town that refuses to die. The hardest blow came on a tragic night in 1965. On the morning of June 11th, Sanderson woke up to a nightmare. A massive flash flood tearing through the town without mercy. Torrential rain hit the area hard, causing Sanderson Canyon to overflow and unleash a wall of water across the community. The flood reached 15 feet high, destroying homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. It became one of the deadliest natural disasters in U.S. history. More than 26 lives were lost. Hundreds of residents were left homeless. In total, 54 homes were completely destroyed, 36 suffered severe damage, and 133 more were partially damaged. 18 businesses were wiped out or severely damaged, and another 27 were hit with lighter destruction. The Southern Pacific Railroad tracks were torn apart. Over 20 miles of U.S. Highway 90 were devastated. About 500 people were forced to evacuate. Most never returned. Those who stayed had to rebuild from rubble, with little outside help. Since then, Sanderson has never truly recovered. That single night in 1965 marked a turning point that forever changed the town's fate. Living in Sanderson means living far from supermarkets, movie theaters, even doctors. This small town sits deep in one of Texas's most sparsely populated regions, Terrell County. Public services are extremely limited. There's one local clinic, but anything more serious requires a long drive to a bigger city. Healthcare access here is not just inconvenient, it's a real challenge. Other basic services are also scarce. Internet access is spotty, public infrastructure is minimal, and yet people endure. In this isolation, community becomes everything. Neighbors know each other. They help one another without being asked. Mutual aid isn't a slogan here, it's how they survive. In Sanderson, loneliness isn't just about distance. It's about the limits of what's available, but it's also where people find strength, in shared struggles, and in showing up for one another when no one else will. In 2023, Sanderson's poverty rate was recorded at just over 10%, but numbers alone don't tell the whole story. With a median household income of $50,921, many families in this remote town still struggle to make ends meet. Jobs are hard to come by. Opportunities are limited. Most people rely on seasonal work or informal labor just to get by. And because Sanderson is so isolated, basic goods are more expensive, pushed higher by the cost of transporting supplies to this far-off corner of Texas. And nature hasn't stopped testing this town. Over the past few years, tornadoes and storms have shaken old wooden homes and stirred up old trauma. As if that weren't enough, Sanderson has also become a quiet waypoint for undocumented migrants crossing from Mexico. It's not something the town asked for, but it's something they now live with, adding pressure on local resources, raising safety concerns, and leaving residents uneasy. Despite the hardship, Sanderson still stands. A quiet symbol of endurance in the Texas desert. The population may be shrinking, but many families have chosen to stay, not out of obligation, but out of loyalty to the land, to their roots, and to each other. For many, Sanderson isn't just a place to live. It's where their grandparents were buried, where their childhoods unfolded, where stories were passed down. This is home. Most residents are second or third generation. They may not have wealth, but they're rich in connection and identity. In other cities, a neighbor is just someone who lives next door. In Sanderson, neighbors are family. There's not much economic glory left here, but Sanderson offers something rare: wide skies, clean air, and starry nights. It's also part of the Texas Mountain Trail, a historic route that draws quiet travelers, road bikers, and nostalgic wanderers who stop by for a moment of stillness in a world that rarely slows down. Sanderson may be small, but it's not standing still. This quiet town is learning to rebuild, layering its history with hope. Surrounded by rugged canyons and a mild, sun-soaked climate, there's no media spotlight, no major state funding, just the will of its people, choosing to rise in their own way. Little by little, old buildings are being restored. Local artists are finding a voice, and community events are returning, drawing curious visitors back into town. One former post office has even been transformed into a small art gallery and welcome center. It's a sign. Sanderson isn't dead. It's just been resting. Progress is quiet, but it's there. From preserving culture and improving infrastructure, to embracing rural tech and renovating public spaces, the town is shifting forward. It's known for being safe, welcoming, and affordable, with decent public schools and a low cost of living. Visitors can explore the town's story at the Terrell County Memorial Museum, or set off on a walking tour that starts at the Visitor Center. a hub of local knowledge and a gateway to the Big Bend region. Sanderson is not loud, it's not rich, but it is honest. About life, about loss, about resilience. In a world obsessed with speed and success, Sanderson reminds us there are still places that beat to a slower rhythm, where people don't live for luxury, but for survival, for memory, and for the belief that home isn't about convenience. It's about the courage to stay even when the world says go.